Today's project will require the use of your colored pencils, a regular pencil, and a piece of white paper. Hi class, it's Mrs. Latinsky back for another art project. Today I'm going to introduce you to an art form called quilling. Quilling is when you take a little thin piece of paper and you wrap it around a tool, looks like this, and you create an artwork that looks something like this. This is a card my little sister got for me. And each leaf is a wrapped piece of paper or each petal and each leaf as well. And it's glued to a flat piece of paper to give a three-dimensional kind of effect to the form. You can see it's got depth to it as well. But we're not going to roll paper today. I can show you how the technique is done, but you have to have a special little tool to do it effectively. To curl paper like that and put it in a shape, you get one of these little quilling tools, which has a slit in the end of it, and you slide this thin strip of paper. You could cut a piece of paper yourself. It could be colorful or plain or whatever. And then you just wrap it. When you pull it off, you have this perfect little coil. Can you see that? Now, once you have this little coil, you can kind of open it up and loosen it up. Ooh, it springs forward. Ooh, so it's springing wider and wider as I let go of the tension on there. And I can make it a lot bigger or smaller depending on how much I let it release. I can use my fingers to kind of shape it into an oval, or I could pinch the top and make it more like that sunflowers had in its petals. It had a point on the top and a rounded bottom like a raindrop. See that? And then I just take some glue and I stick it down on a piece of paper. Today, we're not going to actually do the three-dimensional quilling art. We're going to do something called faux quilling. Now, faux is a word that means false in French. So anytime you say faux, you're meaning it's kind of a pretend version of something. So I could say faux marble, and that would mean I was making it look like it was a sculpture out of marble, but instead I was probably drawing little cracks to make it look like it was marble, but not really marble. So faux means fake, not real. So we're doing faux quilling today. The artist we're going to study today is very important to me because she's my great aunt. Her name is Roberta Mustacich, and she used to live in Santa Barbara, California. The kind of art she did was watercolor and oil paintings. Our principle of art today is movement, and our element of art today is line. And I think this painting is an excellent example of how you can use line to show a sense of movement. I want you to notice how in this scene, there's several lines that are noticeable in the fishing net. Do you see how a line moves through the center of the net and goes up towards the upper corner, and another one is the next layer above? These are the ropes that make an old-fashioned kind of fishing net like this. Do you notice how these lines curve upward and these curve upward as the fishermen are gathering their nets full of fish? You can see that's a sense of movement. So these fishing lines curve towards them as they're pulling them in. They're pulling in their catch. The other thing that I love that she does here is, does this shape of line remind you of anything? Watch how it curves up and it kind of even swirls into the sun. That line continues even into that sunlight. Here, the line swirls around and curves around the sun. What does that remind you of? Does it remind you of any particular line? What it reminds me of is a wave of the ocean. I came across an artist named Svetlana Danilova who does quilling and sells her work online. And one of the pieces of artwork she did for quilling was a boat on water. And this boat it looks like it's moving through the water. So we're going to study the principle of design, movement, how you can use something like the lines in quilling and create a sense of movement. Here's an example. My daughter Grace did a faux quilling. She picked up on this ship theme, but she made it a pirate ship. I love that. She's got the skull and crossbones. I like how she created a watery background, but she used just black to make her swirls. I thought that was an interesting effect she chose to do. Now you can see Lizzie's even closer, how she did in each of those petals. There's a quilling shape, that circle. Our boat's going to be somewhere in the middle of the page. This old style ship. It has a kind of an angle at the front of it, like this, a curve maybe. And then you have it go like this across the deck and parallel to it. And then the back is pretty straight. It goes across the water like that. Not too complicated. Okay, now I'm going to draw several masts. You could choose as many as you want, but that's what these pole things are called, as masts. I'm going to start here, and I want you to think about how the wind is blowing. So I'm going to have the front of my ship here, the bow, and so we want the wind to be hitting the sail, going this direction, filling the sails, pushing this boat forward right here. So the sails are going to billow a bit, ideally in the right direction. So I'm going to put a large sail here, and I do this to show the billowing, this curve, and then it kind of curves in this way, curves that way, and up like that. And that creates the sense of it billowing in the wind. So curve, it's like a square, but it's all got curved edges like that. And you can do stack 2 or 3 on these if you want to, but I think I'm just going to do 2. And then you put your mast under, and they're like that. Now these other ones that you're going to create, they can be slightly behind it if you want, or they can be right next to it. And then in the very front of the ship, there's usually this triangular one. I'm sure it has a name. I have no idea what it is. Now we're going to take the 3 water pool colors and use them to make some swirls. Swirls are going to be what create our sense of movement, that draw our eye and look like those faux quilling swirls. So I'm going to create some large ones here at the bottom to really draw your attention. And pay attention to the way you do your swirls. First of all, are they going to be tight swirls? Are they going to be looser swirls? See how there's a lot of space here between my lines? These ones are going to be looser and larger. And I have them going in, this one here is in a counterclockwise direction. So just be aware of what direction they are. I'm gonna give that a little tail because I want the eye to travel up to the boat from the depths. I'm going to do another one next to it. Now this one, I had it going counterclockwise. It went the opposite direction from the way a clock moves, right? Well, this one, I'm going to move it clockwise. Fill in that space with all those faux quilling papers. When you do real quilling, you glue these circles or these, curls of paper next to each other. They never are on top of each other. So make sure they don't overlap each other if you want to make it look at all like the real quilling deal. And I'm just going to keep putting them in here and creating water swirls that remind you of a boat on the swirling ocean. You can control it a bit so that its little tails splash up to give a sense of motion up over that bow, splashing up over the bow. Instead of just filling the entire page randomly with swirls, I'm trying to make them in a particular shape that your eye wants to follow. And each swirl your eye follows. So it's a lot of movement in this artwork. Movement of the water, the movement of the ship, the movement of the wind. So it's all contained in this kind of shape, this V shape I have going up from the depths into the boat. But each individual line also draws your eye up. You follow it to the center of the swirl, hopefully guiding you towards the boat and up around as the water moves up. You can color the boat however you want to. I want to do some more swirls in the boat, so I'm going to pack them in there in brown. There's all kinds of way to fill space. Hello, Toby. Are you helping me with my artwork again? Nice to see you. Do you like the boat? Do you like the swirls? I'm going to outline these sails in black to show that they're white sails, and then I'm going to add a little swirly sunshine at the top. Thanks for joining me for art today. I had a great time. I hope you enjoyed learning about quilling, and maybe you'll take a chance and someday try it yourself.